let's start with the domestic picture. It's a week to go to the midterm elections. We have now seen the bomb scares, the mass shooting in Pittsburgh in a synagogue. Anything that the president is doing here to try to lower the political temperature? Because just this morning, he was also tweeting again and mocking his political opponents.
Well, that's exactly right. We did see the president somewhat subdued last night at a rally, and he did make some kind of olive branchy type of comments about let's all get along. But at the same time, he feels like his back is to the wall in terms of keeping the Republican majorities in Congress. Of course, he's not on the ballot himself, but he is the figurehead for the Republican Party. So if being aggressive and laying into Democrats is the way that he feels like the Republicans will win the midterm elections, I expect him to be right back doing that. We'll get at least 8 to 10 looks at him over the next 9 days. He's rallying everywhere from Florida to Montana and pretty much every state in between, a huge kind of barnstorming effort.
So how are Republicans and Democrats faring in polling?
Well, you know, polling always has a margin of error, and we are seeing some very close Senate races. It looks like the Democrat could win the Senate race in Arizona, which has been a Republican state for quite a long time. The Florida Senate race, very close, too close to call. Basically, I mean, the bottom line is that a lot of Democrats are vulnerable in this election cycle in states that Trump won in 2016 and in some cases won, you know, in a landslide. Montana, Indiana, and West Virginia, all states that have very vulnerable Democratic senators. For the House, it's sometimes hard to tell. There are, you know, more than 400 individual races. On a generic ballot, the Democrats are ahead, and they've been ahead for months by anywhere from about 7 to 10 points. You know, we don't know exactly how that will play out on Election Day, but, you know, word we're getting from, you know, within Republican circles is that they're pretty much resigned to losing the House, but maybe President Trump can pull out a Hail Mary as he did with his own election in 2016.
Ros, you know, in terms of the background to all this, the trade war continues to bubble along, of course. We have been looking ahead to this Trump-Xi showdown, or maybe more of a conciliatory meeting at G20. Are we now hearing that trade may not even be on the agenda when the two leaders meet?
Right. Well, Heidi, you could call it the trillion-dollar question, really. The markets are certainly so interested, and there's just so many stakeholders who want to know what's going to happen. It would seem, you know, pretty extraordinary if the two were to meet and not to talk about trade, but then they could talk about trade in very sort of, you know, simplistic terms without coming to any kind of deal. So I think, you know, our reporters at Bloomberg are hitting the phones, trying to track down really what is happening, and there are people within the administration who think that it's not, you know, there's no panic stations to be had here, that they will talk about trade. But, you know, in China, as we heard from the Chinese ambassador to the U.S. a few weeks ago, officials there really never know who's driving the U.S. trade policy. Is it China hawks, or is it more China traders? So, you know, that's one of the many unknowns here. You know, I've personally felt that there might be some kind of pre-election breakthrough on trade with China, some kind of, you know, statement put out that would suggest the U.S. and China are making progress. That would certainly be bullish for the markets before the election. And I think Trump, who so often talks about how's your 401k doing, would like to see that. But at the same time, you know, it seems like the president feels like the U.S. is in the catbird seat. U.S. economic growth still solid, as you showed in the prior segment. Chinese economic statistics kind of on the weak side. So there's really a lot going on, and we'll see in the next few weeks how it shakes out.